Thank you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, you're all welcome in today's session on Srimadbhagavatam, the gems from Srimadbhagavatam. And today we are covering a very important verse. This is from Canto 3, chapter 25, verse 25. Please join us for the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiriyet. Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shama Kirtanaha Hridayantastho Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavti Nashtaki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us in the recitation of this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, 25th chapter, the verse is 25th. Satam prakas prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayanah katha tajjoshradashopavarga vartamani shaddharatir bhaktiranu karmishyati. Word for word, synonyms. Satam, of pure devotees. Prasangat, through the association. Mama, my. Virya, wonderful activities. Samvidaha, by discussion of. Bhavanti, become. Hrit, to the heart. Karna, to the ear. Rasa, ayanaha, pleasing. Kathaha, the stories. Tat, of that. Joshanat, by cultivation. Ashu, quickly. Apavarga, of liberation. Vartamani, on the path. Shraddha, firm faith. Ratihi, attraction. Bhakti, devotion. Anukramishyati, will follow in order. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. And thereafter, he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Purport. The process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional services described here. The first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Without such association, one cannot make advancement simply by theoretical knowledge or study. One cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees, because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Generally, people are convinced of the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth. Because they do not associate with devotees, they cannot understand that the Absolute Truth can be a person and have personal activities. This is very difficult subject matter, and unless one has personal understanding of the Absolute Truth, there is no meaning to devotion. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. Service must be offered to a person. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literature wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories, because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees, and by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path of liberation is open and he is freed. One who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotee increases. Association with devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and then, being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he gradually becomes perfect. Hare Krishna. Please join us in seeking blessings from Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande shri gurum dina taranam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Now, this is a very powerful purport. And what is glorified here? The association of pure devotees. So let me bring in some background. Who is the personality revealing that my, Virya Samvidaha, my wonderful activities are being discussed in Samvad. Samvad is discussion. So this is Kapil Muni. He is speaking to his mother Devahuti. And she is not looking for, just liberation. She is looking for devotion. And he is giving her this knowledge. And of course, there are 4 verses prior to this verse where he's glorifying the devotees. What are the activities of devotees? What kind of, qualities they possess? Titik Shava Karunika and so forth. So here, now he is coming to this point to really as a punchline to those previous conversations. And we'll just pick it up from here because this is a very important purport. Srila Prabhupada has packed a lot. So we'll cover some of the aspects from this and then we will dive into more lessons that we can take to reform our life, or rather transform our life in Krishna consciousness. So the process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service. So if you want to progress, advance in Krishna consciousness, as well as advance in devotional service, that process is explained in this verse. And what is that? That we have to seek association. So the first point is that we must seek out Sadhu Sanga. Sadhu Sanga, Sarv Shastakaya, Lav Mata Sadhu Sanga, Sarv Siddhi Haya. Now in this regard, there is a beautiful story comes about Amrish Maharaj. He's approaching Devashi Narad. He's saying, my brother, he's not a devotee. He's actually a gross materialist. So could you please go and preach to him? And Devashi Narad, he says, okay, I will try my best. That's what devotees, we always rely on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and then make our best effort. Of course, under the protection of the Lord. So he approaches the brother of Amrish Maharaj, but this brother of Amrish Maharaj is engaged in, lustful activities. He's listening, eating all kind of food stuff and listening to the dance singers and, singers and so forth. And at that time, Devashi Narad comes to his palace and seeing Devashi Narad, he becomes angry. He says, go away right now. Devashi Narad, Sage Narad, he's like thinking, my dear Lord, at least let me keep my word to Amrish Maharaj. Let me try to preach to this king. Now the king sees that Devashi Narad is not leaving. He picks up his sword, takes it out of the mayan, from the, and he runs after Devashi Narad. Now Devashi Narad runs and they are both running. And after a long chase, finally the king is very tired. This is what happens in materialistic life. People don't have much stamina. When it comes to stamina in devotee life, because of the austerities, it's not that the austerities are the purpose of devotional life. It's just that those qualities develop. And so, Devashi Narad is not much tired, but this king is tired. He's like panting and holding on to his knees. He's, trying to catch his breath. So at that time, Devashi Narad, he says that, you know what? No, it will be, you know, I will leave you. I will let go. The only thing is, I have something that you should hear out. And he says, what is it? He says, when you will see Yamduta and Yamraj, especially after Yamdutas take you to Yamlok and you see Yamraj, ask him, what is the benefit of a momentary association of a devotee? So the king says, okay, I will, ask him. Now go away. And Devashi Narad, he says Narad, he leaves. Now this king, in due course of time, again death approaches, and the Yamdutas drag him all the way to the Yamlok, and when his turn comes, he is present in front of Yamraj, and Chitragupt, the secretary of Yamraj, his name is Chitragupt. He has all our secret photographs and videos. So he's got perfect evidence, and he's thinking, whoa, this king had a very bad, sinful life. How will he be delivered? So he is thinking from that perspective. But then he says, wait a minute, there's small piety in his life. He happened to have met a devotee. Now, as soon as he says that, immediately, sorry about that, immediately what happens? At that time, the king remembers that, yes, this was the time that Sage Narad had visited me. So he remembers that question. So Yamraj says, do you have any questions? So he remembers. So he says, yes, what is the benefit of a momentary association, with a devotee? And Yamraj is somewhat perplexed. Chitragupt doesn't have an answer, and they are trying to figure out. So he approaches Lord Brahma and he says, Lord Brahma, what is the benefit of having a momentary association? Of course, he takes with him the king, and they both approach. And at that time, Lord Brahma is like, I do not know. Let's find out. Let's approach Mahadev. They go to Kailash Parvat and ask Lord Shiva, what is the benefit of a momentary association? And even Lord Shiva at that time is perplexed. He's saying, oh, let's ask Narayan. So they come to the Shiv Saga and they say, my dear Lord, there is a question. So Lord Brahma is there, Lord Shiva is there, the king is there, and of course, because this is such a interesting scenario, all the other demigods, they gather, and the denizens of heavenly planets, they are gathering to hear what is going on. This king, he asks a question that, it seems even Mahadev, Lord Shiva doesn't have an answer to. So Lord says, what is the question? Send the person who has the question. So king is sent, and then Lord Vishnu, when he sees the king, he starts smiling. He understands what the question is, of course. And he says, this is the benefit. Even if I want you to leave this, my residence, the Vaikuntha, I cannot ask you. You are here eternally. So that is Sarv Siddhihaya. All kind of benedictions, siddhis, they easily come to a devotee, a person who has momentary association. So now everyone glorifies that this is an amazing benefit of a momentary association. Now think about, in this verse, Kapil Dev, he is telling his mother Devahuti that not just association, one who is in the association of pure devotees who are discussing, the pastimes and activities, the glorious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now it is very interesting that the word used here is Mama Virya Samvido, that they're having this samvad, this discussion of the glorious activities of mind. And people sometimes they don't realize that Kapil Muni, who is son of Devahuti, he's talking to his mother, and Kardama Muni. His father has already left for the forest uh, to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's Lord Kapil Dev, he is revealing to his mother that the discussion and activities of the pastime is very important. Hare Krishna. So here what to talk about those who are seeking out this association, but also they are not just seeking out association, they are also hearing, having this attraction to hear about the glorious pastime of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from such devotees. And generally, Srila Prabhupada says people are convinced about the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth. So you could say, wait a minute, are there multiple features of the Absolute Truth? Yes, in Srimadbhagavatam, the Goswami already covered that earlier. Vadanti tattvatvidas tattvam yajnanam avyayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti shabdyate. So, learned transcendentalists who know the truth, they express truth from the perspective that the truth is present in three different forms. What are these three different forms? Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwan iti shabdate. So that is the important aspect, that the absolute truth is explained in the form of Brahman, the effulgence that comes from the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, the super soul sitting in our heart, and Bhagwan, again, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have to look from that particular perspective of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, dear devotees, in this particular pastime, as being revealed, Kapil Muni is revealing to his mother this association of pure devotees. What does it cause? It causes pleasure and satisfaction to one's heart as well as one's ears. So the sound vibration goes to the ears and directly in our heart, and Lord Himself enters our heart and reawakens our dormant devotional service. It's not something that we get fresh. It's already there, but Lord, He fans the spark, and we also have to do our endeavor so that we can receive the blessing of the Lordship. Now, in the association of devotees, we hear this. And then Srila Prabhupada also says that, you cannot just make advancement on your own. It is very important for devotee association. And there are, in Nectar of Instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami, he reveals that there are 6 things that increase our devotion. And there are 6 things that decrease our devotion, that destroys our devotion. So devotional service on its own is pure, but it is we who are, whether we are taking advantage of devotional service or not. Just like Bhagavad Gita, right? It is transcendental subject matter. But are we really taking advantage of Bhagavad Gita, or are we just keeping it as it is on the shelf? That makes a big difference. Similarly, here Bhagavatam has been described. Are we taking advantage of Srimad Bhagavatam, or just thinking that this is collection of stories, just made out by someone's imagination and is being used to entertain populace? Now, actually, these are all, true stories. And in the beginning, there are stories about the devotees. And when we hear about the stories about the devotees, Lord smiles. And when we hear about the Lordship, the devotees, they smile because they are discussing these amazing pastimes. And Kapil Dev, he is revealing to his mother. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Why is he speaking to his mother, Devahuti? Because what happened was that Devahuti felt void in her heart after her husband left for the forest. And, in Vedic culture, once a husband, a lady, when she is small, she is born, she is under the care of her father. Then afterwards, when she is married, she is under the care of her husband. But after her sons are grown up, she moves to the care of her sons. Now, there are cases where, just like we see the case of Kansa, his 2 daughters, they came back to him because they didn't have any sons from Kansa. So that again, if there are no sons and the husband is not there anymore, then the lady goes back to the care of her father. And many times, of course, in the care of her in-laws. That is also very valid. So here, Lord Kapil Dev, he is speaking to his mother Devahuti to satisfy her, right? And it is not just that attain liberation, merge into Brahman. That's not what he's explaining. He's explaining how the soul actually awakens devotion. That is the subject matter today we'll be discussing. And there's a powerful progression in this particular verse that has been identified, because through pure association, one gets satisfaction through hearing, as well as, the heart is fully satisfied. And that causes, Taj Joshna. So again, one has to cultivate this, one has to develop attraction to it. So in the beginning, yes, it's like by doing, we have to make an effort, but by understanding these subject matters that they are for our purification, we automatically develop the proper taste. What is material disease? Srila Rupa Goswami, he also reveals that in Nectar of Instruction. So let me first cover the 6 qualities that are revealed, that improves or increases our devotion. Utsahan nishchaya dhairya tat tat karma pravartana sangetaga sato vritte sadbir bhakti prasiddhati. Utsahan, with great enthusiasm, one should engage in devotional service. Nishchaya, with great determination, one should continue on the path of devotional service. Dhairyat, one must have patience. Sometimes people say, I have been practicing this for last 31 years and I have not yet attained perfection. Well, for many millions of years before, we have not been, practicing this in so many, many lives that we have lived. So we should not expect instant gratification. So again, that's also, a lust-based expectation that people have. So we should understand that patience is required. Usahan Nishyadhera Tat Karma Pravartana, the 9 process of devotional service, starting with hearing, chanting, remembering, and so forth. And Sangatyaga. So this is Asat Sangatyaga. And one should seek the association of devotees. So it's very interesting that when we seek the association of devotees, automatically we will give up the association of materialists. And sometimes people say, but devotees go all the time for book distribution and preaching to general populace on the streets. Yes, that is to give them association, not to take their association. So we are not trying to engage in the activities that they are engaged in. Rather, we are trying to help them get rid of the bad association and become more focused in bhakti. So that is something the devotees try to do. Sato vritti. And of course, we follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas. So that part has been already identified. So we walk on that less traveled path in life, because 99.999% of the world is engaged in the materialistic path. So we have to understand that that is not the path that will truly give satisfaction. Now, sometimes people hear about devotee life. They're like, oh, so what is devotee life? Oh, you get up at 3:30 a.m.? We were, recently meeting some older folks as we were discussing Bhagavad Gita, and they were talking about, oh, why do you have to get up at 3 and 3:30 a.m.? And why do you have to go for Mangalati at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m.? And then why, do you have to do all these strenuous activities? This seems to be very tough. Yes, from their perspective, because, they have the tendency of getting up late and staying up late and engaging in all kind of activities, having tea and coffee at least 3 or 4 times a day. So it becomes very troublesome for them to even hear about devotee life. But in reality, for devotees, the life is very pleasing, right? Because the moment we wake up, we express our gratitude to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Brahma Muhurat is the time where all good things should be done. And the best thing to do is meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why we get ready and we take to the chanting of the holy name. And with ISKCON Africa, we were discussing last week that the first activity Lord Brahma does is he is saying that, my dear Lord, I'm the sum total of the spiritual energies in this material world, and I came out from your womb, means from the navel, on this lotus. And so please help me stay situated in devotion. Yes, my activity is to do the creation. Just like Arjun's activity on the battlefield was not to take on mala and chant Hare Krishna mantra or become a sannyasi and leave the battlefield, but his duty was to fight as a Kshatriya, to carry out our duties. We have to perform our activities in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of Lord Krishna as devotional service. So, yes, Krishna consciousness and devotional service, they are very much tied together. And we have to carry out our activities based on whatever varna and ashram we belong to. And through this cultivation, automatically we will see true liberation, not the liberation of merging into Brahman, because even that is an offense, because one may think that they have become God. Well, in reality, Srila Prabhupada says we can become godly, but we can never become God. So we have to be properly situated in our position. What is our position? Sambandha is Jivera Surupaya Krishna Nityadas, that we are eternal servant of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna. Sometimes calls come. Let me try to put on do not disturb. Hare Krishna. So when we do this cultivation, we become attracted. Taj Joshana. So again, we have to be very much attracted to hearing these wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of God in the association of pure devotees. That is very important. And when we hear about the purport and we discuss about Srila Prabhupada, we are directly having association with Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada, many of his disciples reveal that yes, he was carrying Vaikuntha with him because he's carrying the Lord in his heart. So from that perspective, when we have devotees association, we automatically get Lord's, Lord Krishna's association. And so with faith, when we engage our attraction, the rati increases all the way to devotion. And the topmost level of devotion is prema, right? So we come to the level of prema. And that is where truly sometimes the scriptures are harsh to say that that's where true devotion starts. Because till then, even up to before bhava, up to asakti, there is a possibility of mixed mode of devotion. But then once we come to the level of bhava, it becomes pure and then becomes stronger and concentrated, and that's where prema comes. So, my dear devotees, have you ever felt that your spiritual life plateaued, right? Like you knew philosophy, but you couldn't feel the devotion. In the beginning, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we look at the devotees. Oh, these are so wonderful devotees. They are so nice. We have so much appreciation for them. That's where we are like going exponentially increasing in our devotion. But then what happens? There comes a plateau, because then we become a devotee and we're like, there's nothing so strange, so special about it, because we have forgotten the qualities we were able to see previously. So we have to look at it, that the real growth, it happens not in isolation, but in the warmth of heartfelt devotee association. So to become fully engaged in devotional service, we and offer the 6 qualities, Utsaya, Nishya, Dhyarya, Tat Tat Karma Pravartana, Sanga Tyaga, Sato Vritti. Sato Vritti, in the association of devotees, is when our life truly shines because of that association. That's the important aspect. That's the importance of satsanga. So of the 6 qualities, the devotee association is the topmost. Through Maharaj, he was meditating for 6 months. He attained perfection, and in this case, his level of perfection was that he wanted a kingdom higher than his great-grandfather, Lord Brahma. So his father is Uttanpad. Uttanpad's father is Swambhuva Manu. Swambhuva Manu's father is Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is great-grandfather of Dhruv Maharaj. Dhruv Maharaj is just a young boy, right? 5, 6-year-old. And then he meditates following the instruction of sage Narad. He is chanting the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And in just 6 months, he is able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as soon as Supreme Personality of Godhead touches the conch on his forehead, all his ignorance washes away. Which means the Lord's association is pure. So as soon as he got that association, all his ignorance went away, and he realized that the kingdom he's looking for, greater than his great grandfather, is like pieces of broken glasses, while the Lord is there. And now he is asking for the diamonds. What is the benediction he's truly asking? He's saying, please give me the association of devotees and give me an opportunity to serve them. So that is also very important for us to not just, engage in devotional service. We also have to be constantly getting that attraction, building of that attraction, and that comes in the association of devotees. So this isn't perfect knowledge. Now, sometimes people, they get surprised when they hear, like, wait a minute, he could have asked anything from the Lordship. And my dear devotees, you could very well make a list of, if Lord was to appear in front of you right now, what all things would he ask for? So those are the kind of things we are always going there, right? And we are always meditating on, what do we want? What do we want? But actually, a devotee's life is blessed because he is constantly, or she is constantly praying, my dear Lord, how can I serve you? How can I serve you more lovingly? And the best service happens in the devotee association, when everyone is together. Means when there is kirtan going on, everyone is jumping and dancing and singing. There is complete vakuntha in that environment. So we can reflect on some of those times where we had some heartfelt association. We can meditate on this as an exercise. We can just close our eyes for a moment, take a deep breath. Now try to recall one moment, even if it lasted for only a few seconds, when you heard something from a devotee and your heart just melted away. It might have been a class, a conversation, a kirtan. Feel free to share within yourself, like meditate on that moment, and let it remind you that this is what real association feels like. This is what this verse is about, that, our heart and our ears feel full satisfaction. So, first aspect is Sat Sanga. My dear devotees, the sacred atmosphere where devotion begins. It doesn't begin in isolation. And it is, not socializing, but soul sizing. That is the important aspect of devotee association. So prasanga refers to, satam prasangan mama virya samvido. Prasangan is deep, affectionate association, right? That is not, just superfluous talk. No. And devotee association is not a side support to spiritual life. It is the soil in which devotion grows. It is the soil in which this bhakti lata beige sprouts up. And also we hear from, Bhakti Latavi's example, that the weeds, anarthas, they come up. So we have to keep removing these anarthas. And then there can be dangerous animals who can walk in and destroy our Bhakti Lata, our devotional creepers. So we have to create the fence. And this fence is, my dear devotee, is nothing but devotee associations. We have to protect ourselves. Just like a campfire, those who sit close feel the warmth. And those far away can talk about it, but can never feel it. So there is a big difference from that perspective. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, he has a beautiful, revelation around this. He says that the greatest fortune in life is the chance to associate with those who are sincerely trying to love God. So now this is the greatest fortune. And actually, he's paraphrasing what Parikshit Maharaj himself is revealing. Parikshit Maharaj is saying to Shukdev Goswami, and this is all the way in 11th canto, that this is the greatest fortune. I'm the most fortunate. He's saying that there are people who are fortunate, then there are people who are more fortunate, but the people who are most fortunate, I am among those, because I have this amazing blessing that I am associating and hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I can feel the love of Godhead in your heart, Shukdev Goswami. And my Guru Maharaj, he would many times give some very nice instructions, and he would talk about Srimadbhagavatam. And he would say that the Bhagavatam is best understood when discussed in the company of those who live it. So it is not a material, just like a book, but it is a lifestyle. It is a way of living. We talk about art of living and other factors, But what is living? You observe them, and they are talking about asanas and other activities. But what is true art of living? True art of living is following the instructions in Bhagavad Gita, but how to do it is revealed in Bhagavatam. So, what is to be done is given in Bhagavad Gita, how it is to be done is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, those who live their life as per Bhagavatam, they can help us best understand what devotional service is. And we can understand the purport of Bhagavatam just like Srila Prabhupada is revealing in this purport. So sometimes people can say, what kind of daily active practices can we, embrace to be able to understand this aspect, right? So do not eat a single meal without hearing or reading one realization from a devotee. Means you can easily do that on YouTube, on so many channels, Facebook, and so the social media is filled with, the satsanga you can have, the devotee association. So you can talk about it. Or you can call and message a devotee weekly to hear their reflection on Krishna. Something that's going on in your life, you should always, have that discussion with the devotee to see the reflection from the Shastras and understanding how the various things that are happening in life. Or you can attend or organize a regular Bhagavatam satsanga, even virtually like we are doing here. And so we are also very grateful for all the devotees who have joined us. Now, sometimes people say, what kind of questions can I ask myself to understand where I am and how I'm going to grow? So, yes, there are various journaling prompts that we can share where people can make progress. So, you talk about, you can think of who are the top 3 devotees whose association has changed my life this week and why. So again, that means you have to first meet at least 3 devotees. So you're putting yourself, on a daily basis, at least call a devotee or hear a devotee and talk about what did you hear? What was the revelation that has changed your life? Because every day the change should be for advancement. And you can ask, how can I create more opportunities for heart-centered devotees association? So again, that's also very focused. Sometimes we see that there are devotees, they're giving all this, but then there are some so-called, Bhagavatam reciters. Srila Prabhupada talks about in Bhagavatam in his purpose extensively. They are amazing reciters and they are very professional reciters. They are very, expert in impressing others. But when you look at their lives, they're not living the life of, a person Bhagavata. So we have to understand there are 2 personalities. One is book Bhagavata, and the second is person Bhagavata. Person Bhagavata is one who's living, not just speaking about Bhagavatam, but living the life as given in Bhagavatam. Now, sometimes when we meet people, they may inquire, oh, do I need devotee association if I already have the books? Yes, I already bought the books. Why do I need devotee association? Well, our response is, do you need the sun if you already have the firewood? Well, the firewood is enough. That could be a response. Only if you are okay staying cold. So we have to understand that devotee association is like the sunlight that ignites Krishna in your soul. So again, that reawakens your consciousness of Lord already present in your heart. Now, when we look at the Sadhu Sanga, one could say, okay, once we enter the sacred fire of association, devotee association, we are having Sadhu Sanga, something is beginning to melt away, right? These are the barriers between our ears and our hearts. So there are so many barriers. Generally, people have a direct channel through and through, horizontal channel. It comes this way and goes that way. But then, why is happening? Because there are channels to the heart. There are various barriers. So they begin to melt away, and they brings us to the next stage. Not just being present in association, but becoming fully immersed, understanding the instruction, understanding the purport behind it, just like the transcendental purpose by Srila Prabhupada. So this is where comes the level of absorption. So again, along with this full structure, we have to understand that this sadhu sanga is causing us to come to the level of that absorption. So from faith, which takes us, adho shraddha tatha sadhu sanga bhajan kiyat anartha nivritti sat. So again, There is a science of devotional service. So once we have faith, we come to the association of devotees, and from the association of devotees, anartha nivriti. So again, all those bad things, they are driven away, and the channels between the ear and the heart, that channel starts to become clear as all those blockages are melting away. So we have to be absorbed in hearing with the heart, not just the ears. That's a very important aspect. That is what is being said, bhavanti hit karna rasayana kathaha. So, bhavanti means what manifests. What is that? Hrit is heart and karna is ears. Rasayanaha katha. So, such discussions are nectar tonics for the heart and the ear. So, we have to understand from that perspective. And not all hearing is only devotional sound, the transcendental sound's vibration. The more the heart is involved, the more cleansed it becomes. That's why the first activity a devotee does in the morning is just like we do external cleansing, we have to do internal cleansing. And the internal cleansing simply happens with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this Krishna Katha is not academic, my dear devotees. It is a soul bath. So the more heart is involved, the more cleansing it becomes, cleansing. So again, it's very important. You can have water and you can have soap and you can just keep dropping it from the top and it falls to the ground. But unless you come and stand under it or unless you rub the soap on yourself, you're not going to get cleansed. And you have to still make an effort to properly take care of your cleansing process. So this absorption is the emotional digestion of spiritual hearing, right? We should be jigyasu. We should be eager to hear. So just as food needs to be digested, so does divine sound needs to be digested through meditation and understanding. His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, he would say that hearing is sacred when it penetrates your ego and nourishes your higher quality. So we have to understand. Now, sometimes we hear this amazing quote, oh wow, what a wonderful quote. No, we have to meditate on it and understand that how this hearing about the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is penetrating through the ego, destroying the ego. That's what is blocking the channel between our ears and the heart. So we have to look from that perspective. And then the heart will get properly nourished with the higher identity, the higher taste. Param drishtva nivartate. So one is able to awaken to the greater good. For one soul, says charity begins at home. So the more we listen with love, the more Krishna reciprocates by revealing himself in our hearts. So this is a loving exchange that we are daily engaged in the association of devotees. So when we start every japa session with 1 minute of prayer, we can say, please, Lord Krishna, please let me hear with my heart today. While hearing lectures or various YouTube channels or Facebook and Shastras, we pause after every key sentence and ask, what does this mean for my life? The beauty is that currently when you are watching a YouTube channel, you can just pause it and you say, wow, that was an amazing statement. How does it make a difference in my life? That is practicing presence hearing, putting away distractions, taking notes and reflecting immediately on yourself. So how can it benefit you? You have to be very much, in this case, yes, you have to be selfish. And you're in this fish of waters of transcendental sound vibration. So you should really, dive deeper. The deeper you dive, the stronger you arise. So again, that's very, very important. So we can ask ourselves, when was the last time I felt transformed just by hearing about Krishna? Or what internal blockages do I carry that keep me from full absorption? Because we have to make an effort. This is a very important activity. There are many times we have, in the class, people ask, I hear lectures every day, but nothing changes. Well, do you listen with your heart or just your headphones? Somebody could say, yes, both are true Bluetooth. So our response would be, try plugging into your soul instead. Not just be on the superficial, but also transcendental. So again, we have to do that soul searching, soul cleansing. So real absorption has no buffering, only transformation. That is what is very important. Now, once people are hearing with attention, with absorption, what is happening? They are getting nourished. Just like when someone is hungry, they take prasadam and they eat prasadam. So that all that is happening is hand is taking some food morsels, putting it in the mouth, and mouth is chewing and it's going to the, down through the throat. And all of a sudden, bite after bite, our hunger is going away. So somebody can look at it like, wait a minute, that hunger was in your stomach. Why didn't you just put the food on your stomach? Why did you have to, prepare all this food stuff, break it into, individual morsels and then put it in your mouth? It doesn't. Like, that seems to be extraneous work. The best thing is your tummy is feeling hunger, just put the food on it. But that's not the process. We have to understand that nourishment has a specific process. We have to follow the process. And automatically, in due course of time, the hunger will go away after we are continuously eating and satisfying. So with the spiritual insights, again, we can look at it from, transforming the soul. So, Taj Joshanat Ashva Apavarga Vartmani. So, Ashva means, Ashva is referring to Ashu, which is immediately, very quickly. Right? So by cultivating such topics with affection, so again, this is also very important, one swiftly advances on the path of liberation. Now, how do we understand this? Many times people are just going through life as is on a, just like self-driving cars. There is a self-absorbed living also there. They are not paying attention to the external sounds or the warnings that are coming in. We have to pay attention to these sounds coming through the sound vibrations. So again, these warnings and these blessings that are coming through the sound vibration. So here the keyword is Josharat, means joyful, affectionate, and sustained cultivation. Now sometimes people say, but the devotee life seems to be so dry. There is no lust, there is no gambling, there is no illicit sex. It's very interesting that when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was approached by a person, a Britisher. At that time, India was under British rule. And he asked, how do I become Krishna conscious? How do I, take to this devotional life? He said, just follow 4 regulative principles and chant minimum 64 rounds, my dear devotees. At that time, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati would say, if one is not chanting 64 rounds every day, then they are fallen, patita. So as soon as he heard, he was not so much worried about, this gentleman was not so much worried about the 64 rounds. He said, what are these 4 regulative principles? And he was told, no meat eating, means also no, onion, garlic, tea, coffee, no intoxication, of course, tea, coffee there as well, and then no illicit sex and no gambling. As soon as he heard these 4, he's like, impossible. Srila Prabhupada referred to this period of time, and he says, my Guru Maharaj, when he heard that, we have to understand that it is also saying, I am possible. It is possible with proper devotion, with proper faith. If we follow the process will transform us. And this transformation comes with affection. And Lord Krishna himself reveals in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Rajvidya Rajgoyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyekshvavagmam Dharmam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. So this is the king of all knowledge, he's saying. What? This devotional life, when we engage in devotional service. So the knowledge that he's giving in Bhagavad Gita of the Sambandha Gyan and the Abhidaya, the process of devotional service, and finally to attain perfection through devotional life, to go back home, back to Godhead. So this is Raj Vidya. This is the king of all knowledge. Raj Gurmat is the greatest secret, but it's easily known. It's all over in Bhagavad Gita. So it's easily revealed, but only to those who have faith in their heart. Right? Pavitra, it is all purifying. It will melt away all kind of obstacles and all kind of hurdles in our life. We can look at it from that perspective as well. And Uttamam, it is the best. And Pratyakshva Vagmam Dharmam. So it is realized in practical life. So when we practice devotional life, we can see this happening. We can see the transformation happening. So we can have a scale and we say, wow, I'm now realizing this. I would have been disturbed in this state, but because I'm engaged in devotional life, I'm not disturbed in this, given scenarios and so forth. And so, dear devotees, it helps us understand and susukham kartum avyam. So it is joyfully performed. This is where the affection comes in. Sustained, avyayam. It is sustainable. So we can continue to engage in it. So it is bhakti is not a once a week dose. It is a living creeper that needs to be watered daily through hearing with affection, serving with intention, and remembering with love. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Like I mentioned, Ashu means quickly, but that quickly sometimes could be on Lord Brahma's time. And Lord Brahma's one day has 1,000 Chaturyugas. Remember that. So Apavarga Vartamani is the path of complete freedom from suffering. So it's far beyond mere liberation. It is a joyful spiritual life that begins while still living. So again, we have this wonderful uh, revelation that's coming our way. And when we approach a sadhana, we should approach like a gardener. We should not rush through it, not force it, but be gentle and be consistent. That is the key. A garden needs constant supervision and gentle handling. So we have to be very, very careful in our dealings. And each week we can choose one aspect of our devotional life, japa, seva, reading, kirtan, and commit to nourishing it with new intentions. Again, there is purpose behind it. So we can spend just 5 minutes after each hearing session to digest and write one heartfelt, heart-centered realization that we are getting from that message. We could ask various questions of ourselves. What part of my bhakti feels neglected or dry? Right? How can I lovingly nourish it? So again, this is the gentle and sustainable care that we have to take care of. What does a nourished devotional day looks like in my life? Right? So what can help me understand? And sometimes, when we meet people, there are some very insightful things. Sometimes people ask, my bhakti feels like a cactus, tough, prickly, and dry. Sometimes people say, your bhakti, in devotee life, it feels like that too. Her response is because, you water it once a week with guilt. You're not doing it with intention, with love. So the question is, what do you need, right? So what do we need? We have to daily pay attention, right? Sunshine of gratitude has to be there, and the compost of humility. Both are needed for bhakti to grow best in the soil of loving care, not anxious deadlines. We should just put deadline that, okay, as soon as I finish my 16 round, I'm going to hide my bead bags, so that even Lord Krishna would have tough time finding it. So we have to be, true in our intention. The 16th round should actually encourage us to take to the 17th round and say, one more. Today I'm feeling spatial inspiration. Let me do one more round today. So as our spiritual life becomes nourished and something beautiful happens, right? That we begin to grow, not just external achievements, but inner landscape is growing. So now we come to the level of growth that faith becomes attraction, attraction becomes devotion, and this is where we attain perfection. So, Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishati. So here that faith, and Ratir is of course progressively causing attraction. And two, we come to the level of fully devotional service. They all follow in succession. They happen gradually. My dear devotees, devotional life is not digital. It may look like digital because we are looking at a long span of time with a narrow view. But we have to look at from a wider view the focus on the quality of life that we are living. So here this verse is outlining the divinely natural progression. The spiritual growth is not forced. It unfolds like a lotus flower, right? Just like a flower unfolds. It doesn't just become digital and show up like that. So Shraddha is trust that Krishna is real and his service is meaningful for our benefit. We have to perform it. And Rati is referring to the developing emotional attachment that Krishna is not just true but dear. Yes, he is absolute truth. Hare Krishna. And bhakti is, by definition, a giving relationship, serving him joyfully, voluntarily, and lovingly. And so, in this way, we can continue to engage and ask ourselves, in what ways has my relationship with Krishna grown in the past year, in the past month, in the past week? And is my faith still intellectual level, or is it becoming more emotional? So again, it is a loving exchange, my dear devotees. Lord Krishna is Bhav Grahi Janadana. So he is looking at the bhav in our heart, the emotions that we carry. In loving devotional service, we should serve. Sometimes devotees even feel that we have been practicing for years, but no prema yati yet. We haven't received. So we have to ask ourselves, are we chanting with love? Sometimes people, they chant with a list of complaints. Prema is not on that list, my dear devotees. When bhakti stops being a task and becomes a taste, you're already homeward bound. You're already advancing well in your devotional life. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we covered this amazing verse where we have to understand how we can come from faith to all the way to the level of bhakti, which is prema. And in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada says the most important aspect is we have to be in the association of devotees with loving faith. We should hear about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who's speaking this? Lord Himself. And His Kapil Dev incarnation, avatar, is revealing to His mother. So when a son is revealing to his mother and giving her something that she needs, we also understand that her mother represents the Jiva soul, we living entities. And it is for our benefit that Lord is revealing this amazing secret so that we can become truly blessed in our life and transform our life so that we are not surviving, but we are living. That is the essence of devotional life. Hare Krishna. Devi, would you like to add anything?
Hare Krishna. No, I just wanted to actually, you have nicely highlighted and elaborated on this verse from Canto 3, chapter 25, verse number 25. I'm mentioning this for those who joined a little late. So, repeatedly we hear about bhakti yoga or devotional service in all different purports. Prabhupada has provided so much variety for all of us so that we can practice this life of devotion and be joyful in serving the Lord. We develop, like you were saying, develop that attachment and attraction and absorption so that our bhakti lata in this spiritual gardening, it blossoms with steady practice, with unwavering devotion, which of course arises from regular loving service. So, uh, the gems from Srimad Bhagavatam are indeed our constant companion. And it's a constant reminder to us that bhakti is both path and the goal. And it gradually uplifts all of us to pure, joyful spiritual existence. We are just a few minutes past our scheduled time. So at this time, we would like to thank everyone. Uh, you all have joined today. You could be easily doing something else. So we really appreciate your presence. So at this time, Prabhuji, I think we can wrap up this thought.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai,
Ki
Srila
jai,
Prabhupada ki jai, Srila
ki jai,
Prabhupada ki Janant Kori Vaishnav Vind ki
Govinda
Nitai
ki
Go
jai.
Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
Have a wonderful week in Krishna consciousness. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you. You too, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.